Here's my king design. I'm transferring all these designs to some scrap pieces of wood so that I can mark out all those dimensions. This bead right here, 1.5 inches. Yeah. So this is 1 1/16 over a half. So 9/16. That's good there. I can cut straight down to my dimension under the collar, which is just over 1/2 inch. It's actually 3/4 of an inch right under the top of the bead, and about 1/2 inch away from that down the neck tapers to just under half, or just over half. We'll say that's the dimension I want for right under the bead. Let's get down to that. Because what I want is something that tapers from the bead to the skinniest part in the middle and then back out to the base. It's right there. Perfect. So I can come down to that, and then this next cut I can go down to 1/2 inch. We're almost there. We'll come down one more. Yeah. Okay. That's the skinniest portion. Now I need to figure out what my dimension is for the taper right before the cutback. That looks like 2 inches. There's the highest point right here of the taper, starting the fattest part of the base. Yeah, it's right at it. It's alright if it's under that, because the way the geometry works is that the large bead at the bottom goes to a slightly smaller bead, and then that should go to actually a slightly smaller sharp point of the taper. That should actually be set back from this bead a little bit visually, so it's alright if it's a little under 2 inches. It will be anyway. So from that point all the way to here needs to come out. I'm going to switch up to my large gouge, do some roughing out. That's what they call a shearing cut. Makes these really thin ribbons, not the fat ones, turning it up on the edge. You shear away the wood. Shearing cuts make really smooth surfaces, but you can't move very fast on the flats. It works best on the slopes like this. At least you can't move very fast on the flats with a gouge like this. Gets bogged down a lot. There is where the taper, the cut back, goes in towards this bead. So all this has to go away anyway. So I'm gonna do that with the parting tool again. And now I need the dimensions for the base. Before I do that, I'm going to make some separation with my skew chisel. I want to go past where I need to go. Start high. I am at the base dimension 2.5. So 2.5. Pretty close. We're right there. All right. Let's get to that. I'm going to take this back a little bit to give it the right visual angling. Make a parting line where the base is going to be. Taking that down a lot, but I really shouldn't. I have a lot of material to take off here. Let's get to that. This bead is actually smaller than the other. So that should be right at 1 inch. Now I come in 1/8 of an inch further, and that's where the base of the king's crown starts. Now the widest portion of the crown, right before it tapers and curves around quickly and returns to the cross at the top, a little finial up there. The widest portion looks like this little, about 1 1/4. So we'll just turn to that. Base of the crown, finial, feet of the cross, arms across, head across. All this actually becomes now, I need to go down to that here, but I know that this is the base underneath the cross. This is a little pedestal. So I'm going to switch out and bring in my very small parting tool. I'm going to start all the way out here. What do I need to come down to? Yeah, 1/2 inch, which is about the same as that, so I can visually keep an eye on that. Arms of the cross are going to basically be that same width, so I'm going to go down to that. The nice thing about this cross is it's basically laid out in thirds. pretty much everything roughed out. Liking the way that's looking. All right. Leave it. Okay. When you're rocking this, it's really easy to twist this way and that way, and that's when catches happen. You have to stay right on the plane of the angle of the flat of the blade. So whatever the flat of the blade is, that's your angle that you're rocking it on. Now, the flat of the bevel side that's actually contacting the wood, that's determining the angle you actually want to cut. So set that on the angle you want to cut, but then rotate just like this. Everything will be fine. Start high on the piece and do that, all those things, and things work out fine with this speed chisel. A lot of people are really scared of this tool, but it's so nice. I find using the gouge as a scraper gives me these fine little shearing cuts, which are a little cleaner sometimes than a flat nose scraper or a round nose scraper or an actual scraper. Just bring the tool up high, let the leading edge kiss the wood. I kind of like it. This is supposed to be 1.5. That's good. This is supposed to be 1 3/4. It's a little bit fat of that, but you know what? I kind of don't mind it being a little fat. It actually looks good. This is what? About 3/4. This is less than 1/2 inch, which is fine. Yep. There's 1/2 inch there. How skinny did we get? Something like 5/8 of an inch here, which is fine. I like it a little. 1/2 inch is actually probably too skinny there, because that already looks like it's getting pretty skinny there. It's a nice long king. You go too thin there and it looks wrong visually for the weight of the piece. It looks too skinny. What do we have here? Yep, just under 2. That one's right at 2. And that is at 2.5. just under, just barely just under. So you can see here, this is what the scraper does. This is what a nice sharp tool does. So I don't like using the scraper in these sections, but sometimes you just have to. Let me see if I can clean it up. I know that I got a little bit. Yeah. Well, I'll sand it. That'll get the rest of that out. Sanding it up. Same thing, ladies and gentlemen. There he goes. Very good. Voila. Okay guys, so now that I have the rest of these pieces carved and decorated, I'm going to finish off by carving the finial on the crown of the king. This is an easy process. You simply part off the left and the right hand side of this disc that's on top, and it creates the crown. It'll need to be sanded flat and even, obviously all the way around, but it's going to be a really simple thing. So to start, for cutting the cross, I need to find where I want to center the view of the cross. How do I want it to look? What face do I want to be the front? What face do I want to be the back? Since the cross has a front and a back and left and right side. So what I think I want to do is actually center it right along the center of my lamination reveals here on the sides of the piece. I could center it along the kind of profile look at the lamination, but I want to center it on the front. I just kind of think that'll look more interesting than that, looking right down the lamination lines. So something like this, laying flat, taking my little Japanese pull saw, and I'm just going to come straight across. Alright, now that that's cut left and right, I can clean that up with my sanding block. I'm going to start with a pretty heavy grit sanding block just for shaping purposes. This is like a 100 grit sanding block or 80 grit sanding block. Again, using my little protection shield here. Alright, that's one finial, rough shaped down. I'll take some higher grit sandpaper to that and continue shaping it and rounding a little bit. I'm really just getting rid of the last set of scratches, and I want to finish up going with the grain on my sanding. Maple is a really forgiving wood. On all these pieces I've been really happy with how well it has worked and shaped. So I think if you're not doing a traditional boxwood set, maple is a really good option. Here we go.
Well, guys, we did it. We made it to the end of this part of the series. We turned every piece from the king to the pawn. Now all we need to do is get these guys ready to put the finish on. That'll be the next video that I show, and it'll be the use of an epoxy type finish as well as a polyurethane satin finish on top of that. So if you want to follow along with us, please do become a subscriber. I've got so much support from you guys, and it helps me keep motivated to churn out these videos as often as I can. Anyway, until next video, guys, see you in the workshop.